Karen Alexander, and this is Jack Lazaro. Together we host the Known to Be podcast, Tales from the Trailer. Thank you for joining us today. Like, share, and follow.
Hello and welcome to the Known to Be podcast. We are your hosts, Jack Lazaro and Karen Alexander. Today we are coming to you live from multiple spots, and we have with us Aaron McLane, visual effects grand poobah of the Royal Order of the Water Buffalo.
Yes.
Welcome,
Perfect.
sir. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely.
Really excited to have you here.
We realized that we could be just too one note with always doing hair and makeup. So we wanted to reach out to somebody who makes great content and has great stories. And you were at the top of a very short list. So without further ado, how did you get started in the film business?
Faked it till I made it, man. Oh my God, did I ever. So I went to college for film. I went to Emerson, shout out, in Boston. Went out to LA, and I wanted to do practical makeup effects. So technically, you're not getting somebody who.
Yeah, we're not too far.
Yeah.
We're not too far.
Not too far.
Good.
I love practical effects. I wanted to make monsters, man. I worked at a couple of places. I interned at a couple of places doing mold making and some sketching. But I kept losing my jobs to computers. And like I worked on I Am Legend, the Will Smith one. And one day our shop owner comes in and says, guys, they want to go digital. You're all out of a job. And like 150 people lose their job in one day, except for you, Aaron. You get to clean this mess up. I was the lowest guy on the totem pole, the cheapest bastard there. So then I'm just like pushing a broom around and then skewing every little bottle of paint to put in a case to send out for tax breaks. Brutal. And after having that happen to me like 3 times,
Oh, God.
I was like, I got to figure that digital stuff out. So during the 2008 writer's strike, you know, the first big one.
The first one. Well, the first of the second ones. Yes.
Yeah. God. So
Part 2.
La
so
Cage
after... Folle.
Oh my. This one was a musical. So it was brutal. So with all that time off, I sold my car, bought a computer, and taught myself VFX. And then I was like, I'm a VFX artist.
Nice.
Oh boy, fake it till you make it, right?
Right.
Yep.
So I would apply as a VFX artist for things, and one of the first things that said, like, yeah, come on down. They're in like Echo Park somewhere, downtown LA. And I go and I'm about to open the door to where this office is supposed to be. And a naked woman runs out crying and she's all pissed off and smoking. And some guy's on the steps like, you can't go out there naked. You got to come back in. You can't go. I'm like, what have I stepped into? And the guy who's doing the VFX for a super low budget Charlie Band bullshit movie rented his space out of a porn studio.
Right.
So,
do we know the name of that compound? Because I worked there too on a little art house film called Mutant Vampire Zombies from the Hood. And
yes, you did. Yes. I don't know the name of the compound, but you are exactly in the right spot where it's like, here's a jail set and a school set and a hospital set.
Don't forget the locker room.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Oh my
all
God.
places that are low budget horror movies and or pornography.
Yeah.
Nice.
So sometimes both.
Oh, yeah. ¿Por qué no los dos?
Sí, claro, no.
So they're like, so while I'm trying to talk to him about like, okay, we need to do these rotomats here, like you just hear the sounds of porking in the background. and drug use. Don't forget that.
And
Yeah.
rampant drug use.
Just hoovering all day. It was wild. It was such a bizarre scenario. And you know, you're trying to keep your eyes forward. You're just like working at my computer. Oh God.
Do I need rubber gloves?
Yeah. How
Uh,
often does somebody come in here and vacuum? Just
Not that
asking.
often.
Vacuum?
No, just a vacuum.
Mop.
But that's where you get your start. And
Absolutely.
you know,
It's all uphill from here.
I worked on a whole bunch of bullshit projects, did a bunch of bullshit stuff, got hired at a company that was doing like, I worked in rentals for a bit. Rentals is brutal.
Yeah.
But because I went to Emerson, a lot of my friends worked at this rental company that gave me a job. Thanks. Rentals is brutal because you're building this relationship that then like a week later when they break all your shit, you have to like call and collect and be the bad guy.
Yeah.
So you're like good cop and bad cop in the same person. And you're just like, where's my motherfucking money? You broke my camera. And then a week later, you're like, hey, you want a deal?
buddy.
Come on back.
I got a really good rate for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Come, please break my
I
crap.
didn't mean it. I
please.
didn't mean to be the bad guy.
I know. It's terrible.
Baby, I was sorry what I said when I was angry. Please come back.
100%. That has a lot of wild stories, which that's another
It's
day.
another
'cause-
Now I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you work on a bunch of just parody? Was it all parody movies like Breaking Wind, or at the beginning?
How
or
did
was-
you know I worked on Breaking Wind?
Oh, he
There's,
does research.
there's-
He does
there's-
research.
I do a little bit of research,
IMDb.
but I wanted to go with
Breaking
the New
Wind.
Republic is not necessarily as funny as
Breaking Wind. Breaking Wind was terrible because so you're
guess it
working on
was.
you're doing VFX for it, and it's all sight gags, and the director comes in with all these like great ideas. He was a really nice guy, but like, oh man, they just throw everything at the wall. It is literally just like poop on a paintbrush, just sling it against the wall and see what sticks. It was so bad, but hey, you know what? It paid a bill. Didn't pay
Yes.
all the bills. It paid a bill.
Yes. And
Hey,
it gave you a
you
beginning. It gave you a place to start.
Place to start. So I'm working at this company that's doing like 3D conversions.
Mhm.
We're doing a conversion for 2001: A Space Odyssey. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. It's incredible. But then we find out that we don't have the rights to do it. And the guy who's doing it is just like, no, they're going to see how awesome it is and they're going to love it.
No one's gonna
And we're
care.
showing like the Kubrick's family. We're showing the original DP. We're showing
wow.
anybody we can get to back it up. And they're like, this is incredible. And then, of course, Warner Brothers is like, no, cease and
Yeah.
desist.
Yeah.
But I got to see it on a giant big screen of our work and like seeing parts of that in 3D were really freaking cool. But what a waste of time. But hey, the check's cleared. So
There you go. So how did you move up from that? What door did you get to open up and walk through?
so they started becoming very shady. Checks
Okay.
weren't clearing.
Yeah.
There were a lot of firearms started to appear. I quit my job when it started feeling dangerous.
Yeah. As you
You
should.
know, yeah. And on my way home, it was one of those situations where you're just like, well, I can't show up home. Hey, I quit my job. We don't know where rent's coming from. So, like, in a panic, I'm calling everybody that I ever worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And I call this guy who he's like, oh, yeah, I remember you. You worked hard. How about you go take a meeting for me next week? I was like, great. Okay, I'll take a meeting. That's fine. Something.
Sunset in Fairfax? Sure. Got it.
Well, what is it? I wouldn't know. But I show up into the Disney lot. It's the Disney lot.
Yeah.
And it's Blackish, and it's like day one, and they are planning to shoot a big VFX like in a movie theater scene. And they're like, "Are you the VFX supervisor?" Yes.
Sure.
If someone asks if you're a god, you say yes.
Yes.
Thanks, Ghostbusters. So I call him up, and I'm like, "Hey, they think I'm the VFX supervisor, and they want me to come back tomorrow and the next day and the next day." He's like, "I'm too busy. You're the VFX supervisor. I'll be the producer." Holy
Nice.
shit. Now I'm the VFX supervisor on America's #1 comedy, hit new comedy on ABC. Blackish was amazing. It was a great place to like get your feet wet, be in the frying pan a little bit. It was funny though, because it's like, yeah, I had been an artist at this point for a handful of years, but I had never been a VFX supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
the man in charge, but I knew how to deal with people. And if I didn't know the answer, I knew how to look it up. So they'd be like, hey, we want to do this. What do you think about that? And you'd be like, oh, go to the bathroom real quick. And you run to the bathroom, whip out your phone, get on YouTube, call up my producer, be like, oh, hey, they want to do this. What should I be doing? And I run back up and like, here's what we're going to do. And they'd be like, oh, that's not what we're doing anymore. We're doing this. I have to go to the bathroom real quick. They must have thought I had like IBS real bad or something. Just always in the bathroom.
How long were
They
you
should
on
have given you an
Blackish?
office.
Yeah.
I was on Blackish for 2 seasons. So the first
Nice.
season I did by myself. During the day, I'd be on set doing VFX supervising. And at night,
Wow.
I would go home and do all the shots by myself because I didn't know how to hire a team. I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So
right.
we made it work though. Like the producer was very helpful and he would get me people when we needed it, but it was very like freelance.
Right.
Second
Okay.
season comes along, they fire the entire post crew, which I think means me.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're like, why aren't you here? Well, you fired everybody. And they're like, we didn't fire you. Did you hear that? I was like, no, but the post team, no, we fired them. We didn't fire you. Oh, I
So
show
how
up.
do you
Yeah.
realize that when you like, I mean, I know you're learning on the go, but that's not a standard thing for all departments, or?
I find out when I head back in, I'm like, hey, so I'm the VFX supervisor. And the new post crew goes, well, we hired this company. Oh, yeah, like a professional, like you would do, right? And they're like, yeah, but I mean, I'm sure they'll hire you. Go talk to them. So I go over to this company, Ingenuity Studios, and they say, we don't really need that. And I'm like, oh, where'd you go to school? I went to Emerson. Hey, we went to Emerson too. You're hired.
Wow. Nice.
They're like, do you know Nuke? No. Well, we'll teach you. It'll be fine. Oh, boy. Now I'm trial by fire, learning on the go, learning a new program. And I have a chip on my shoulder. I have the biggest chip on my shoulder. I'm acting like a real butthole. And thank God they called me in one day and they said, hey, you have a chip on your shoulder. You're acting like an ass and you need to cut that shit out. Because like I had been running a show and now I am no longer now all my flaws are exposed to real professionals. They give me a chance and I fix it, get my head on straight. I buckle down. I learn how to do it. I learn how to do it the way they want me to do it. They teach me how to do it. And I work with them for about 4 years.
Wow.
If not longer, up to the point where they go, hey, you want to go work on The Walking Dead? And I'm like, hell yeah. Hell yeah, I want to work on The Walking Dead. But that turned into the longest interview process of my life. It was like months where you'd meet somebody and they'd be like, okay, great meeting, cool. And then you're like, well, I didn't hear back. I guess we're done. Then the phone rings like a week later and they're like, hey, we want you to meet this guy and this guy. Yeah. And it's like one step up that ladder. And you're like, okay. So then you meet them and you're like, a month goes by. I guess I didn't get that job. Hey, we want you to meet this person, one of the writers and a post producer. It was just like they keep adding people until one day you're in Greg Nicotero's office and you're like, I guess I got the job. Like, did I get the job?
Like, we'll let you know. 4 to 6 weeks.
Exactly. And then they're like, hey, how soon can you get down to Georgia?
Yeah.
You could have told me a month ago. We would have been down there.
Yeah.
Honey, we're moving. Hey.
We didn't move. I moved down because I didn't know how long I was going to keep the job.
Right. How long were you in Georgia? How long did you stay with them?
I stayed with them from season. I'm still there. I'm still there.
You never gone home.
I didn't leave. So in 2018, I went down there. My wife stayed in LA. 2019, she came with me for season 10. Then when the pandemic hit, we moved down there because 2020 LA was like, we're shutting down. We had just found out that we were going to have a baby. The hospitals were filling up. And I was like, I'm not prepared for a home birth party. I'm sure it can go great, but like, look, I'm not ready for
doing it in the bathtub.
Don't come to this hospital. It's full. That's a terrifying thing. So like Georgia was not as bad. So we drove down there. We had a place and we rode it out, and we just stayed.
Yeah, I mean, as you do.
As you do, right? You know, right. I can park anywhere I want here. Yeah.
I mean, you're part of The Walking Dead. I mean, you're a huge part of The Walking Dead at this point.
Yeah, I did Walking Dead, then I went down to Savannah, did Fear, and then
that's where we all met. Well, that's where I met you. Jack already knew you because of The Walking Dead, but that's where I met you.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time sitting behind you in a chair at the monitors.
And I was blocking your view. I'm just like, no, don't look at anything.
You're not allowed to look at this. You're not allowed.
Get your own monitor, department head.
Well, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is not true. Categorically false. Aaron and his compadre Tommy were both cordial individuals. They always made room for us on set, and they made it a delight.
They did.
To go to work every day.
Yes, they were always very gracious.
I mean, you guys were terrible.
I mean, they were nice.
You always try to be. I always want to be the most sickeningly, annoyingly nice person you meet on set because someone else is vying for the crankiest day, and they're winning.
Yeah.
I will not win crankiest, meanest, saddest.
I've probably won a couple of times.
Right?
We're having the worst day ever. I'm sure you are.
I'm sure you are. There's always somebody on set having a worse, shittier day from you because there's always some poor AC or grip who's like, I'm getting a divorce. My kids hate me. I'm here. I'm doing this. I'm not getting paid right. And I'm just like, oh man, breakfast was cold. Like someone is having a worse day than me. So I might as well not vie for that trophy. Let's go.
Don't even try.
Let's go the other side and just be like, I'm the goober. You're gonna like be annoyed how happy I am to be here because, What else are you gonna do?
I know.
So,
That was fun, though.
was there ever a time where you came in and they wanted to do something convoluted and let's just say patently false and or stupid, and you were like, "Hey, let me save your entire day and put a little bow on it for you. Here you go."
Oh, every week. So I go from script to screen. So I get the script super early, really early, and they're like, how much is this going to cost? I'm like, I don't know. Like how they expect you to have some magical formula, but like every year the prices change. You got to go figure it out. There's ways to do it, but okay. So how do we make XYZ happen? How do we blow this bridge up? How much is practical? How much is this? Every time there's always something that is a complete like wild swing, but I love that. My key is to always say, and here are some magic words, everybody write them down. Let me go investigate that for you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be right back. Let me go investigate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
You're not saying no.
If you say no right away, they're immediately like, he's not a team player. Even though that would cut so much bullshit out of the conversation, that would cut so much time off of it. And I love producers who are like, just tell it to me. Tell me. If it's no,
that's one
say
thing
no.
that I loved about working on Fear is they were like, I just need the bottom line. Let's just, can we do this? Can we not?
Yeah. And
like,
when they smell through that, that's the best. When they're like, just tell me no.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
just tell me how bad is this going to hurt?
Yeah. Because otherwise I have to go back and see how much time I need to wait before I come back and say no. And it's kind of a direct balance to their ego, you know?
Yeah.
Hey,
proportional.
Proportional, yeah. Hey, we did some investigating and that's not going to work. But I always come back with 2 or 3 options. You know, we could do this, we could do this. Sometimes you need that anyway. Like that time does, because like if you're right there and you're like, yeah, this isn't going to fucking work. Well, what should we do? I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
That's the worst place to be. And I always call it the shit on the hands, where it's like you come back to a team and you're like, hey, did you guys try anything? And they're like, Every human being, every adult has gotten shit on their hands and they didn't have to call for help. They figured it the fuck out. You know, they figured it out. Oh no, the toilet paper's out. The worst feeling in the world. You figured it out. You came back with some solutions. You didn't walk out of the bathroom going,
You got back to class. It might have been 10 minutes late, but you got back to class.
Got back to class. Oh my God. Yeah, we've all had horrible situations, but you solved it yourself. And there's nothing more embarrassing to come back to a team of adults and you're like, hey, what's going on? Why are we stopped down? And they're like, well, we encountered a problem. And did nothing. We tried nothing. We just waited for you.
We accomplished nothing.
Yeah.
I know. That's one thing I always say to my crew. Even if you're doing it, even if you go in the wrong direction, at least you went in a direction.
Yeah.
Don't just stand there and be like, I don't know what to do. Do something.
Do something. And the converse of that is don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. But it's
it's the other side of that coin. Just don't do the same thing twice.
Because at the end of the day, I'm going to be more mad that we're just behind now.
Yes.
As opposed to, well,
that didn't work.
We can always course correct. I can't start over. The time is lost.
Yes, absolutely. And that it's something that I think so many people just like, oh, that didn't work. So they just kind of stand there and wait. And you're like, you got to keep moving. You got to go forward. This doesn't stop because you stopped.
And I'm really lucky that my teams are always very, very small. Tommy, shout out to Tommy.
Tommy, I love Tommy.
Tommy Harris. Tommy Harris.
I mean, Tommy was so wonderful.
Awesome.
Just a shout out.
Okay, so let's talk about that. When you build a team, what are your principles towards approach?
Where did Tommy come from?
Tommy just was donated to me. He just was bequeathed to me on a silver platter. They were like, "Oh yeah, here's you have a data wrangler. His name's Tommy. He's really good. Everybody likes him." Oh boy, did everybody like him, and thank God. So I show up and I'm nervous because again, is he smarter than me? Is he better at the job than me? On both accounts, Tommy is super capable and definitely can do this job. And that is like, you're just so lucky that you weren't, handed some sort of.
He's nice and he's pleasant to be around because you guys have to.
And you guys are having dueling kids at the same time.
I know. He's the best. I couldn't have been luckier to have somebody who was so good at their job and ahead of every step. Hey, did you get this thing done?
Yes.
Fuck yeah, I got it done, man. You don't even have to ask. Great. he is so on top of it. And to trust somebody like that you can leave them to do their job.
Yeah.
So you can go do your job. That's
It's
awesome.
huge.
And he literally was just on the show before me, and that was it.
Okay,
and
so he was already there.
the funniest thing is I come to the show, I'm walking around, he's showing me around. Everybody's like, why didn't they give you the job? And he's like, second.
Yeah.
And purely it's because I worked on the other side of it. He has always been on set and I've been in post. And that's like, that's it. You
But
know,
you guys need that. You need that yin and yang. And that's why you two are so great together, is because you complement each other so well.
Yeah. And
you know.
I also, now he has somebody who can take the target on their back when we fuck up, and I happily do that. I've messed up plenty of times. I know how to handle a huge mess up. So it's like, that's what I'm good at. And he's good at just handling the set stuff and doing great work on there. And everybody likes him. It's awesome team. And I'm always bummed when I,
don't get him.
Yeah, exactly.
Or when they're like, we have space for you, but you can't bring your additional. You're like, he's not an additional. He's my right arm.
He's the right arm.
But then you have to fight for him. For
I do.
For Boston,
I fight for my
him.
key on every show that I go on. And if I don't get him, it's because there was a very hard battle and I just didn't get it this time. There's only been like once,
handful,
maybe not even a handful, like once or twice that I haven't gotten my key, because I'm very good at that. Like, you know what, this is going to save you time and money, because there were 3 people that you're going to hire from here.
Well, and then you have to do your due diligence, which is always my favorite. Like, okay, I'm going to look, and then you get a bunch of resumes, and they're like, well, we sent you a bunch of resumes. Yeah, none of them have ever done the job.
Yeah.
Well, you can just train them, right? No, this isn't kindergarten. This is not like me training somebody means I'm not doing my job. It means I'm doing half of their job, because when you're training somebody on the thing, you're doing their job. It's not just let me show you and you go do it.
Yeah,
either mentally
absolutely.
and then explaining it to them, or you're
It's
physically
just
going,
exhausting.
sit down, kid.
It is.
People who think that data wrangling is like an easy job is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Balls and charts?
Yeah, balls and charts is the easy part. Writing it down is the easy part. Knowing what you need and having the experience to know when to get it takes years of experience. It's like me going to a producer and be like, you just send emails. I can do that. That's easy.
Yeah.
You don't need all these other people to send emails for you. That's so easy. It's like, that's not what my job is. They have boiled it down to what they see it is. Well, he's just writing down lenses. No, that's the easiest part. He knows when to write down the lenses so that he's not bothering people. He knows when
I
to
always
get
knew that
balls.
you guys, it was crunch time, and that I needed to do my looks. If you guys ever popped up out of the chair, I was like, okay, so things are actually going to happen. All right, we need to get out in front of this, because they're getting out in front of that. So as long as we know right now that something's not falling off, falling apart, or just everybody's decided to go to the bathroom just right now. As long as we got that covered. As Karen loves to say, my favorite thing is we walk in, we take the call sheet, we go, how are they going to fuck us?
I know.
Okay, let's protect against that, and then we're going to have a great day.
We're going to have a great day. The other thing I really enjoyed about working with you guys was also the collaboration that you had with other departments, like with the actual mechanical effects and makeup effects and everything else, because it does overlap. It does at times. You have to hold hands and make it nice. And, sometimes you work with those people that they want to do everything visual. They don't, or they want to do everything mechanical. And it has to meld together, or you don't have a great finished product. You don't get to deliver what the show wants or what the studio wants if you're not communicating. And you guys, I found, were so great, even in production meetings and everything else, where we could see the collaboration, which I think is just so important.
It was always my favorite when it would be a full zombie, but then a quarter or a third of its head is green screen painted out. And I'm like, yes, we're going to do something awesome today.
Yeah. There's always something cool in that green space. Thank you. It's so important because, like I said, I came from a practical background where it's like I was learning all that stuff. I love practical. I would rather it all be practical. I'll talk myself out of a job anytime I can.
I mean, if only, right? It's just no time and money anymore.
It's the cake. I don't want to be here to save us. I want to be here to ice that cake. I want the cake to be solid. I want the sponge to be perfect. And if you can do that on good practical base, all I have to do is sweeten it.
Yeah.
cover up the seams, hide the wires, fix the mechanism to hide it. Like, let's do that, because that will always look better than if I have to go 100% me.
Yeah.
In certain aspects. I mean, there's always something where it's like, no, it's so easy for me to do it now. Like,
Yeah.
let us handle it. Safety, always let us handle
Yeah.
it. Like, there's no point to endanger the cast or the crew
Yeah.
for something that VFX can do and we have the budget for. But it's like, it's the worst when you did not give the practical team enough time to shoot it right, and now you have like a crappy cake, and now not only do I have to fix it with VFX to get it to a base level, then I have to put stuff on top of it, and it's like you're doing twice as much work in the same amount of time, and that's always just gets you just not as good a end result. Whereas it's like, if you let the practical do a great job, you have it planned together, knowing what you're taking over, knowing what they're taking over, then you're going to have a really awesome thing. We have some fantastic sequences this year in Dead City Season 2 that are just so practical, but like, we just got to do the coolest little touches. And
Perfect.
I don't know what the audience is going to know is what, but I hope they realize that it's super practical. It's just some really cool VFX.
And the thing is if the audience never even really thinks about it, the whole idea is you don't want them to be like, oh, visual effects.
There it is, right there.
The best, I always, my mom always said, the best makeup is the makeup you never see.
Yeah.
The best visual effects is the visual effects you don't know is there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like when it doesn't take you out of the script or the story, that's the best. And sometimes that little tweak just takes it so far over that people are just wowed, and it's amazing, and it's come so far.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing what can be done now.
It's going too fast.
Yeah,
we're at the point where every year it's changed so much that you're just like, oh, wow, we're here now. Wow, we can do that now.
Where do we go from here? I mean, like, what?
Well, the computers are thinking now, so it's like, you got to play with Skynet. You got to play nice with Skynet, and
don't piss it off.
He calls
don't
her
piss
Peggy.
off Skynet. Huh?
I call it Peggy. Chat GPT. Like I my wife and I call it like our personal assistant. Like, let's put Peggy on that and see what Peggy can do.
See what Peggy says.
Peggy sounds a lot nicer than Skynet.
Peggy is better than
know where we're going.
Skynet, but trust me, Peggy
is
would
Skynet.
rip your face off if it had hands to do so. Here's a question that I have for you. So we have inside jokes that we in the hair and makeup department like to do. Sound has like the Wilhelm scream, right?
Yes.
And for the audience that might not know, the Wilhelm scream is from an old Foley track, old record, where the guy went, "Rah!" And it's now made its way through so many different movies. It was made really popular during Star Wars, the original.
It's in all of them.
It's in all of them, and it's. I think it might be anyway. That is just the example of a really fun inside joke that filmmakers will kind of work it into their soundscape.
Easter egg?
Is there an Easter egg?
Do you know the original movie that it was?
No.
Distant Drums. It's an old Warner Brothers movie called Distant Drums, and this guy.
And it was a Navajo movie. It was about
it's cowboys
Native
and Indians. Yeah. Guy gets shot by an arrow, and his name might have been Wilhelm, or the guy who.
No, the Foley artist was
Wilhelm. Yeah, it's so good.
It's so good.
For us, it's just fix it in post. Anytime somebody says that, and you're like, you just spent like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
By saying that one phrase.
Fix it in post. 4 words. Every one of them is $1,000. Just right there. You're like, oh, wow. Here we go.
I didn't know you had money to spare.
I had a director once that used to just be like, can't they just take that pin and make it go away?
Yeah.
I'm like,
just hit the button. Where's the clouds?
Can you just take that eraser pen and make it all go away?
My favorite is when you get to set and they have 2 giant condors, both with giant moonlights on it. And they're just like, just make that in the moon. I'm like, haha, I'm making that the moon. Do I need to make 2 moons? What planet are we on? Is this a sci-fi show now? We have 2 moons, all full, all the time.
Yeah.
Moons are the funniest thing. Yeah. Nobody ever believes you when you pull a full moon in either. Because you can't film a full moon. When you film a full moon to expose for the people, the full moon is just a giant glowing orb. So when you put that like perfect full moon in, it always looks music video perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody believes what the real moon looks like. Full moons are weird to see exposed correctly. So it's always just one of those things that they're like, giant glowing orb looks like the sun. Well, yes, but if you went outside and took a picture, that's what you would get, because you
Yes.
can't expose for the moon. And it's always just kind of a funny thing. We get that a lot. And fixing the post is probably the one inside joke where we always just laugh, because you're like, man, you'd have no clue what that takes and how much money you're wasting to do that.
Yeah. And it's always like, yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. And you're all like, everyone's like, never going to be fixed.
No.
Never
Never
going to
be fixed. Yeah.
Never going to happen.
Or when they're like, hey, it'd be really nice if we just did this. When you get to the end, if there's any money left, and you're like,
You know, that little extra pile over there.
You got it, player. I'll get you that. We'll make that happen. I'll put that right on my list. It'll be at the top of the list as soon as we have extra money. That is on the top.
Because there's always extra money, right? There's always extra money at the end of the thing.
I'm always over budget. Because nobody believes you.
I'm always very curious about some of these things, and it does jump away a little bit about what we do to how we do it. You're married and you have a daughter?
Yeah, I have she's about to turn 4.
Oh my gosh.
Almost 4-year-old daughter.
She's a 3-nager right now?
Oof. She's a hard 3-nager too. She's a great 3-nager. I'm having the time of my life. She's awesome. She's so clever and funny and all the things you love about a kid, but everything's so big and so important, and like all the feelings.
The drama is going to continue for a while.
Don't
so
rush
the first year that you were on The Walking Dead, you said that your wife stayed back and stuff. Yeah. How did you guys kind of maneuver through that whole like family thing while you were gone? Did you get to go home a lot? Or, Jack and I have kind of talked about this and what it's like for the person at home. How did your wife do with all of this?
Oh, it was rough. I mean, it sucks, but we had a trial run. We dated all through college.
Okay.
We went to high school together. We were not friends in high school.
Okay.
I was going to ask, how are you still married? And that just answered it. She fell in love with me before she knew any better. That's The die was cast. She never stood a chance.
Yeah. She fell in love with me when I was smooth and cool.
Yes.
Before she knew I would amass a toy collection. I was so poor I did not have the toy collection.
Yeah, now you're like, honey, it's just this. It's so
I know, right? Now I need a whole room for it.
Yeah.
We went to high school together. She was captain of the cheerleading team. I was president of the Thespian Society.
Well, interesting mix there.
Yeah, well, we were not friends. That's what I say. We're on the opposite side, but her locker was next to the girl that I was dating at the time. And so we'd see each other and lightly rib each other in a fun fashion.
Yes.
Funniest thing, though, is even a couple years before that, like, she's a sophomore, I'm a junior. And somebody makes a joke about it's not like you can look in a crystal ball and pick who you're going to marry. And I look over and she's there and she has this cast on her leg. She's in her cheerleading uniform. I go, I'm going to marry that woman right there.
Really?
Like, just as a joke. Right. That was the woman I pointed to.
There you were.
And
God
and
loves
then it
a
happened.
joke.
Yeah,
loves
I know, right?
Good punchline.
So in college, I went home for something, hanging out with some of my friends from high school, and we go to a graduation party, and she happens to be there. I run into her, we start talking, and that was it.
Yeah.
After we were talking, and then she's like, "Hey, do you want to go grab some food?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds great." The cops are going to bust up this party anyway, so I go to my buddy. I'm like, "Give me all the money in your pocket. I'm going to go on a date with this girl. I have no money." And he's like, "Here's $8." I overspent that $8 and she covered it. And I was like, "Oh God, I just did embarrassment."
You knew she was going to be a good one then.
And then a few weeks later, my parents are like, "You want to go to a graduation party for a goddaughter and like all this?" And I'm like, "No, wait a second. She might be there. Okay, yeah, let's go." She's there. "Oh, I just broke up with my boyfriend." "Oh, I'm so sad."
Dang it.
So we hang out the whole time. I walk her out to her car and she goes, "So you're going to ask me on a date or what?" And I was like, yeah. I was waiting for the right moment. She's like, "I was going to get my car. When's the right moment? Let's go."
Right now is the right moment.
Yeah, right now. So she asked me on the date and we went to Cheesecake Factory.
Of course.
And it was great. And we just never stopped hanging out. But we had like 5 years of long distance because she wasn't allowed to come move to Boston with me.
Right.
And we weren't allowed to get married until we knew what we were doing. But
and this is in rural Indiana?
No, like Indianapolis. Like, not rural.
Yeah. I'm for our viewers. He came from rural Indiana.
I came from Broad Ripple. It's like a little. It's like it's pretty suburban, suburbia.
So then you
but
guys
yeah.
moved to Los Angeles?
Then we moved to Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, we had our honeymoon in Chicago, and then we
Wow.
moved to Los Angeles, and
Nice.
then spent 13 years there. It was great.
Where did you live in Los Angeles?
Pasadena.
Oh, Pasadena's nice.
I love Pasadena. And then we moved to
Pasadena's
Glendale.
nice.
I like
Huh?
Glendale too. Glendale.
Yeah,
We lived in
yeah.
Glendale.
I grew up in California, so I'm familiar. I grew up in Santa Clarita, Valencia.
I worked in Santa Clarita quite a bit. My first job on a show was called Kamen Rider Dragonite, which was like a Power Rangers type show.
Yeah.
And I worked in Castaic. Yeah, I had to move up. I had to go all the way up to Castaic every day.
It's funny he says Castaic. Castaic.
Castaic.
Castaic Lake.
Castaic Lake. Castaic was like, it's like a trucker town. It literally is like a truck stop.
It's so crazy now. It's so crazy. There's homes that go all the way past Castaic now. It's just like the bedroom community has spread on up. But yeah, that's where I grew up, was in New Holland, Valencia.
I know exactly where those. I right by Six Flags, huh?
Yeah, I worked at Six Flags on one summer. I worked in the arcade, and the other summer I did the pyrotechnic show on the lake.
My favorite story that she tells.
I was.
You press the button.
She was hell on wheels, man.
I had so much fun. I loved it so much. It was such a male industry though, or I probably would have gone into fireworks. I had so much fun. We built the show every day, and then we'd put it out on the lake, and then we'd have like 3 hours off. So we'd turn our shirts inside out and go ride rides, and then we'd come back and we'd set off the show, and then the next day we'd cut it all off and do it again. It was the best summer. I had the best time.
That is awesome. Every time I drove past that, I get the shivers because I hate roller coasters.
Oh, and the Colossus,
I wanted
where the
to
lady
be
fell off. You know, there was a lady that fell off that roller coaster there.
Stop! Don't tell me those things. I'll never go.
I wanted to be the guy who was like,
they have the bars that come over your shoulder now because the lady that fell off the Colossus at the Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Oh God, I hate that so much. That's a terrible story.
Growing up in
then it was before my time, thank goodness, but we all knew where it happened. And we used to build the fireworks underneath the Colossus, so it was always like, "Ooh, that's where the lady fell." That's a really weird story. I'm sorry. Sorry to bring that up, but it was. I mean, growing up in let's be honest, before it was Santa Clarita, which they call Awesome Town, it was New Hall and Valencia and Canyon Country and Sagas. We grew up in this little bitty community out there that was just hardly any stoplights and one McDonald's. You know what I mean? It was just like, let's just go nuts. But we got Six Flags Magic Mountain, and that's where we all worked.
That's too funny.
Sorry to digress. But yes, that's where I grew up. So I do know Glendale and Pasadena. I know, it's fun.
So you keep saying that the industry keeps changing, and it's changing even more because computers are alive now and talking and interacting. Where do you see the almost a post-apocalyptic existence in the next 5 years? Or
yeah, man. Computers are going too hard, too fast. Actually, that's not true. Corporate greed is going too hard, too fast, and computers are just keeping the fuck up. I was
going to say, but like you said, I mean, right now, the new normal, I guess we can call it now, the new normal that we're living in our industry is the bloodbath. It is the people, the corporations slimming down.
Yeah. Well, and they think AI is going to save them even more money by cutting a bunch of people out. And like, really all it's doing is killing all the entry-level jobs that I have. Because you still need VFX to fix all the 9 fingers and 20 teeth that your AI characters are going to generate.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that AI can't do. It can't take notes, for example. So when somebody's like, hey, can you fix this a little bit this way, this little tweak? No. It's a re-roll of the dice every time you press the button.
Okay.
And that is something that I don't see fixing very soon. They call that the stability. And so you need VFX artists to fix that. The problem is you've gotten rid of all the entry-level jobs because AI can do that now. And where are people going to learn how to do it? Where are people going to learn how to do the next step if I don't have them doing the first step? And
it's the same thing with.
I think it's going to push us into a restart. I think it's just going to go so far that people are just going to be like, screw this. We're going to take control now of our own destiny, kind of like Jack and I have talked about, and we're going to start learning how to do the things from the ground up again.
Problem, because I'm running into this. I'm trying to get projects off the ground. I write on the side. I have many scripts out pitching, and everybody goes, we love it, we love it, we love it. How much does it cost? I don't know, like $1 to $2 million. Ooh, nobody can invest that much money because 1 to 2 is above a union rate. Suddenly you're $6 million.
Right.
Yeah.
And
without doing anything.
And unions are good and important, but we need to figure out how to make a $1 to $2 million investment that treats people right.
Right.
But we're not going to be getting paid what a $6 million movie is. And we have to figure out how to find that tier and make it a good investment.
That's going to be really hard because people in our industry have been living good. We've been living fat and easy. You know, I mean, it is since the strike, I guess I worked on a movie that was probably in that range. And they were like, this is the bottom tier. We're not getting anything else. We can't afford any overtime. We can't afford this. But they did end up doing a union. I think a lot of independent films are going to have to, unfortunately, go outside the unions because people are not willing to give up. I mean, when I started, our rates were so much different than what they are today. Although the cost of living and everything else and stuff has changed, but people have been living in the film era where there was just money being thrown. Yeah. Netflix was throwing money. Everybody was just throwing money, and now that's gone. But our rates are way up here.
Yep. There's no contraction. And at the end of the day, I don't want to tell people you got to be happy with taking less. I'm just saying that there needs to be a tier that we can figure out that isn't bottom barrel sub 1 million and isn't 6 million. Because that range where
$3 million movie can't be made right now.
It's a killer.
All your favorite horror movies that from back in the 80s, the reason we don't get more cool, straight up, just classic slashers is because it costs $20 to $40 million. You know what? Like when you look at like everything that Blumhouse makes, those are $40 million movies. And you're like, how? Because the second you get above the independent range, now you have to hire actors that sell a $40 million movie and you have to pay them millions of dollars. Suddenly you have to have a crew that feeds that amount of people. Everything just balloons. And I'm not saying that's wrong. Again, you have to defend. We all want to
live that good life. I mean, I've enjoyed my life because of this industry.
Let's find the one that gets more movies made that more people can work on. And I 100% agree. Like, we just need to find investors that want to put into that because the crew is ready to go.
Oh, I mean, there's so many people right now that are absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, what do you feel about the theory that in 5 years it's going to make such a big jump that I'm not going to be watching Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 27. My TV is going to scan me, and then I'm going to be watching Jack Lazzaro as Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 27.
It's ridiculously closer than you think.
I just think that a lot of people that have to have the technology at home and are not going to be able to do that. I think the jump is going faster than people can afford for it to move on. I think you're going to have that on your phone.
Yeah. Here's the thing, like with AI moving so fast, like I get the demos all the time. Hey, you could use this for this. And I suddenly see that like, oh no, like for one example, you see an instance where they're like, hey, this thing can take an actor's mouth and remap it to be in a different language. Now you can dub it in, and the mouth isn't just flip flapping; it's actually doing it. Yeah. And you're like, except that's not what it's going to be used for. That's what it's used for in our industry. But the second that technology is out there, you're going to have a deep fake of some politician being like, "Bomb that country," and now you're in World War III. Right. Like that is what that's going to be used for. That's a terrifying technology to me. And then they tell you this: in the next 2 years, we'll also be able to take that actor's voice and use AI to have it be in their tone of voice in Spanish. Well, you just erased 60 jobs of the people who do the dubs for other countries because Mickey Mouse isn't the same Mickey Mouse in every country. No. You know, but if you have AI changing that, now you've gotten rid of those jobs. And to me, that's scary because now you're just watching these big, just shave off of jobs people to computers. And I sometimes have these existential crises a couple times a year when I see the next step of like what computers and AI is doing. And it makes me feel like the horse who saw a car for the first time. And you're like, guys, that we're not going to be pulling. Yeah, we're not going to be pulling carts, guys. We're not going to be pulling carts anymore. Like the carts are going to cart themselves. And the other horses are like, you're crazy, man. It's like, no. Cthulhu's coming. It is like, that's how I feel. Like I feel like a psycho when I talk about it, but It's
But don't
Nothing
you think that
psychotic
people are going
about
to
it.
get to the point though where they want to see real and not necessarily not real? I mean, don't you
but
think they know it? It's just
they
like people
don't.
now going back to vinyl.
I have a huge
The
vinyl collection
resurgence
right
of
behind me.
vinyl right now is
Yep.
incredible to me. But it's
Movies
like,
kids aren't going to the movies because they're addicted to their phones. I'm addicted to my phone. It's
oh
hard
no,
for me
it's
to sit through
all.
a
I
movie.
mean, it's everything is going to be coming. It's this size now. It's
Yep.
this size,
But as
and
far as TikTok is popular, people will
YouTube
accept garbage. Yeah.
and YouTube
People's
is going to take
tolerance.
over. I think
Yeah.
YouTube will again. There's
But
so
if
many
you see the
creative
Mr.
people.
Beast thing, they released, or they discovered or went into their files and found that he was basically telling the people like how to make a segment of television, but like reinventing the wheel of YouTube. And it's like, oh, okay, so the format's always going to provide, and it's just going to reinvent itself and double back and maybe
It's just
be in
going
the
to put
mirror.
it's going to put the creativity back in the hands of the people.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. The last 10 years, even more probably, the creativity of movie making and the storytelling is gone in the sense that it's not in the hands of the filmmakers anymore. It's in the hands of the people that are deciding how much money you're going to spend, right?
And it's a
Except
line item. Art is
except
now a line item.
you can also see what happens when a creative does it on their own with their own millions of dollars and make what they want. You get
It-
a $1 million garbage
Megalopolis.
mega garbage
But
He took $45 million of his own money, and then
but
that's
that's
why
his
Mel never
prerogative.
has to make another movie ever again,
Yeah.
in
But I mean,
front of
I
the
don't.
camera
I
or
think
behind.
I'm not. But I am talking about the small movies and things like
Yeah.
that. People are making now. Our phones are capable of filming shit. We now have the way of doing it. Not that it's going to take over theaters and everything else. Theaters are gone basically
Yeah.
soon. But I think you'll see a resurgence. I do think that
Mhm.
people. Let's be honest. People are going back to growing their own food in some place. You know what I mean? It's like people want real, and that's the reels and the things that are going well on social media are the people that are the more real.
Yeah.
The more honest you're being in those things are the people that are getting the more hits, which again, it's beyond all things. I love movies. I love going to a movie theater and being surrounded by it all.
Popcorn.
And it's but there hasn't been a film that I was like, I have to go. I wanted to see Twister. I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted to see that, but it went in and out of my movie so fast I didn't get a chance to.
The Substance.
There's nothing out there that I want to go do.
Yeah.
If it's not, and no offense, if it's not a Marvel or an AI generated film right now, there's not a lot of great things that are lasting in movie theaters because they can't get enough people in the seats.
Well, they've gotten too big, and it always comes down to like if it's not $1 billion hit, it's like there's no niche anymore. But everything has to be global hit.
Yes.
And like this, you saw this happen with Disney. Disney's like, we're going to make a smaller idea, a smaller audience show with The Acolyte, and because it's on a global platform, a bunch of people were like, boo, and you're like, it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
Not everything is for you, but
Yeah.
when it's on a global platform that's handed to you like it's served to you,
Yeah.
people think it's all for them. But like on YouTube, you go and find the things you want. If there is a smaller niche story that you're into for a smaller audience, that's doing better than the global platform that is Disney Plus. And it's like you're not allowed to do smaller things. You're not allowed to do things that aren't for everybody.
Right.
Literally everybody in China, India, America, South America, like they have to hit
just too much.
all the boxes. So you're getting very bland things that just are global appealing, which
are not appealing at all.
Are not appealing at all. They're very bland and formulaic, which is rough.
That's part of the reason why I think that the future of this entire business in whatever multi-headed beast it chooses to take, it's still always going to be a question and a product of branding.
Yeah.
And anybody is going to who likes a Wes Anderson film is like, what's this one about? I don't care. I'm going to watch it. Right. Because it's been branded. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get, comedy that plays in the wide and panning movement shot. Like, what you're signing up for. Right.
Yeah. Extreme color palettes.
Yes. Yes. So, and you're also going to get that with a Men in Black movie. You're going to get that with Bad Boys movies. Okay. Apparently 2 Will Smith. And I think that's just going to continue. You can see on these different apps where they're making content for the religious right, or they're making content for X group, Y group, Z group.
Yeah.
It just keeps coming back to, oh, you guys are just doing Mary Tyler Moore, but single camera and, in a park this time around. Okay, I get it.
I hope we can figure out how to get back to there, because again, lots of people have great ideas. Lots of people have
So many good
stories they want to
stories to
tell,
tell.
but there's no distribution outlet, because streaming doesn't make you any money back. Zero money back.
Right.
You get zero money back.
Yep.
Streaming is not working. And yeah, YouTube. How do we still magic. How do I get money from the YouTube?
Right.
You don't,
millions of views.
And theatrical is very difficult, because
Yeah.
you need $10 million behind a theatrical run. So how do you distribute? And a lot of people are trying to solve that problem. And one of the things I think is really important is fair pay. Like, if you're a streamer, let's go back to rentals, man. Let's go back to, like,
Right?
I pay $4. It goes mostly to the person who did the work, and we get back. I mean, there's got to be a way to figure out how to write that equity. And I think it's just going to take somebody who isn't, the second they realize, oh, I can make $1 million off this myself and not give it to anybody else. Like, stop with the greed, man.
Yeah, if we continue to Spotify the movie industry, there's going to be nothing left for any of the content creators. But that's systematic in our current business capitalist.
That's how
society.
capitalism works.
Yeah.
That's why I also like to hear more and more when a movie's like, hey, we gave equity to everyone who stayed on the show for 90 days or like whatever it was. Like, if you were here long enough to get healthcare, you also have equity in the show. The
That
PA,
would be amazing.
everybody.
Good luck with that.
Like, good luck with that. Right. Usually, usually it's one of the actors who's like, one of my millions of dollars will go to the crew. Yeah, to the minions. But like, that also makes me care about working on a project when I know that my equity is involved. Just saying, might be an idea.
It might be an idea. I just think it's I think unfortunately, I think everything has to be gone to build it back up. I think it all has to be destroyed first.
Burn it to the ground, you're saying?
Oh,
now you're talking my language. Let's go.
I think we're going to burn it to the ground. I know. And it's just like, I know we took a long turn to the other side, but I think it's really important right now. There's a lot of people in our industry that don't know what to do.
When I talk to college kids, they're terrified. They're like, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, hey, you know where I got my start?
Get to the porn house. Oh, no.
Get to the porn places.
Don't
right. No, don't do that.
But short of that, just go to the spot where they make it.
But like, yeah, I don't know what to tell them. You picked.
Storytellers will find a way to tell the story. People that really want to tell the story will find a way to do it. I think that has gone through time. I mean, it started with song and people going town to town.
But 80 short form videos are now being optioned into this is the story of my life. Like,
And people are making money doing it, though.
Okay.
If you're young though, and you have a high tolerance for bullshit, which you do when you're young.
Yeah.
You do. If you're a young person, you have way more tolerance for bullshit than I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Than I do.
Grab your phone, voila, cinema, go shoot something. Like, just start doing it, because when you get to a certain point where you're like, I need that $1 million to make this movie, go make a movie. Go make a movie before you're in that mindset.
Yeah. Because, and not only that, that's what, then you can climb that ladder. That movie will get a movie. I mean, things will do that. It's harder for me. I'm very close to retirement, which is so sad because I don't think I'm going to get it. And now I'm relearning. I'm relearning so much stuff. Although I find it, finally my brain is like connecting and being engaged.
Finally mature enough to understand the things that you didn't before. Well, I'm just engaging
again. Whereas we've been sitting at home for a couple of years and not so engaged. But
that's why I started my podcast. I wanted to make shorts. Making shorts costs money. Shooting a podcast does not cost nearly as much money. I get to be as creative as I want. I get to say what I want. I get to tell the stories that I want. I get to meet
great people
who are in the
and
movie
then people
Predator.
Get to choose to click on the button or not. It's not like radio where, that was almost a feed where the next thing just comes to you and comes to you and comes to you.
I would love for movie making to become movie making again, and I don't know if it ever will in the time that I will have to work, because there's something so amazing about being a part of a project or a film or a TV show, and the collaboration that happens between departments, the group of people that come together, because it is an interesting group of people.
It is.
We're all there for a reason. None of us want to be bank tellers or anything else. I mean, let's be honest. And it's the social aspect of this job and just the figuring it out that I love so much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. I mean, I grew up in the industry, second generation. So I've seen this evolution go through, and I don't want it to end, because I think there's young storytellers out there that just need the vehicle and they're figuring it out. And that's what the socials are giving them. But wouldn't it be nicer if it was on a bigger stage and they were able to move towards something, as opposed to being, this is it, you're always going to be this big?
Well, just like there will always be a need for a camera loader. We had one on Walking Dead before pandemic. We were one of the last productions that were shooting on film.
I was going to say, you guys had a loader? That's interesting.
Yeah, no, he
had
had the tent and would load and do all the thing. It was only when pandemic happened and there were too many top brass that couldn't come to set anymore that they had to run it through a video assist. And so that video assist was like, yeah, because that's the only way that we're going to get eyeballs, in real time. And that was a thing that was able to happen, but very reluctantly did AMC want to do that. And I mean, talk about being short-staffed. Every day that guy was like, my video assistant didn't show up, and now I got to hump thousands of yards of cable every 10 minutes. You're like, oh, I'm sorry, Dustin. Shout out to Dustin. D-Lo.
So thank you so much for being in the visual effects, being in the computer side, being in the digital side of all this. Have so much insight that I have no idea what's going on. I mean, it's like you're seeing part of the industry that we don't get to see necessarily. You're having the conversations that we don't get to have. So thank you for that and all those. But Jack and I, we're gonna
pivot
over. We're gonna pivot a little bit.
We have our no NDB hard hitting questions. What's your favorite crafty snack?
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hard hitting question. Take your time.
Swedish fish.
Wow. Was not expecting the Swedish fish.
Not quite a Haribo gummy bear. I get it.
Like people. So I am not a gummy bear fan.
No.
Welch's fruit snacks, fine, totally good, but not my jam. But like something about a Swedish fish just hits just right. I do love a good Swedish fish.
I would have thought, because of your Walking Dead connection, I would have thought you would have been a sucker for an Uncrustable, but that's just me.
So now that I have a 3 or 4-year-old, Uncrustables are not fantastical anymore. They're not like this. Like, wow, look at this. This is just like my kid eats those. This is not magical. I eat plenty of those leftover half-eaten Uncrustables.
You're like, no, I'll take the Swedish fish.
There's nothing worse than a floor Crustable.
When you see a half-eaten Uncrustable in the trash and you're like, who didn't finish it? And there's like part of your father brain that has eaten plenty of those, and you're just like, I could just knock that up right. And you're like, no, don't eat the half-eaten trash Uncrustable.
No, if
you
it's
don't
in
know
the trash,
whose mouth.
it's gone.
Yeah, you don't know whose mouth that was in. I like those. I also like these ginger chews that are very spicy that no one else eats, and I just eat them by the handfuls.
What's the worst second meal you've ever had?
Bad pizza. Obviously.
The wheels of death.
Because the best second meal is good pizza, the best pizza. But then, like, how do you fuck up pizza? And you go to some shit, you go to some shit local place that probably is really good pizza normally, but they weren't prepared for 100 pizzas.
Yeah, so they're just slapping shit together.
At 10 p.m. And they're like, yeah, we're closing in an hour. Can you make me 100 pizzas? Yeah, sure.
But that guy was like, these jerks, what are we doing?
What was your favorite rap gift you've ever gotten? Oh, that's right. That's off Dead City.
Yeah.
Dead City. I know. I love
City.
that idea. I actually.
Yeah. I'm showing a tattoo for those who are only listening. I'm showing a bee tattoo. They brought these tattoo artists out, and this was Michael Satrazemis and Jeffrey Dean Morgan paid for 4 tattoo artists to come all day, and all day it's just like meh, meh.
Yeah, they tattooed. Isn't that amazing? I
That's
love
awesome.
that.
And
That's awesome.
Jack
I
would be
was
like,
on the
"No."
fence. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
don't
well,
know.
that's how I would get like a little bee right here, like the tiniest like love dot ever.
Yeah. I was on the fence, and then Jeffrey Dean Morgan's like, "Come on in, man, let's go."
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Of
you know,
course.
this is
That's
good
the
for a
best tattoo
story.
ever.
So he's getting a tattoo on his hand,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Are we gonna have to VFX that out?" And they're like, "Fix it in post, don't worry." And I get a little bee on my shoulder because my wife and I have a thing about bees. And
Oh,
it
so
was,
the tattoo. So it was any tattoo, not everybody got a
No,
bee.
they had four different tattoos that you
No,
could
they had a
choose
whole bunch. It was a whole
Okay.
page. There was like a
Okay.
head in a jar. There was
Yeah.
a bone. There
from.
was
Mikey show. I've seen Mikey's. He's
Yeah,
seen me a
and
thing.
he picked the bee
Yeah,
because
he
his
did.
wife's name is Bee. So
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I got it.
Bee Cetrozema, shut up, bee.
See,
Yeah,
So you
so-
have the same tattoo as Mikey.
I do, but because my wife and I have a bee thing. They also had a bear, which is very
Oh.
appropriate
me.
for something that we
Yeah.
were doing.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "You're not getting the bear," and I'm like, "I don't have any tattoos. If my only tattoo is a bear, I'm sending the wrong message."
Yes. Yes, you are. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm also as a husky bearded man. I
Yeah.
already
You're
I
already
already
knocking on
am
a couple
popular.
of doors there, sir. Knocking on a couple of doors.
I'm
That
very
is a
popular.
great gift. I actually love that as well. I heard about that on the last film because I was in Boston the same time
Yep.
you guys were filming, and somebody was like, "This is what they all did," and I'm like, "That's amazing."
Well, because full disclosure, on the last movie that we were on, we got into joking about Live, Laugh, Love. So Danny and Karen got
It's a-
L3,
L3,
Live, Laugh, Love.
live, laugh, love.
And I was like, I mean, you guys go hard on an inside joke. Like, you go hard.
It was like everything was live, laugh, love. And we decided that we would do L3 because we didn't want to do live, laugh, love in the Gather font.
yeah.
And
in
we're
the
like,
Gather
"Come on, Jack.
font? Like,
Come on, Jack."
no
He
way.
wouldn't
No
do
way.
it with
I
us.
don't have any tattoos. Okay. And I feel like I am the person with a tattoo because I am without.
Yeah, it's just a little. We both have them in the same place. It says L3. The L is in the Gather font.
That's
but
funny. That's
I
so
thought
funny.
it was hysterical. I was like, I love this so much, I will pay for it. And they're like, you're not paying for this. Okay, you don't have any tattoos.
What
You're not
happened to the
allowed.
Hobbit feet? I designed a tattoo for Karen's
we
friend.
broke up. We broke up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's,
Yeah, it's okay.
it's okay, but I'm
These
sure
things
he loves
happen.
it.
Oh, what's your favorite jock jam? Oh, sorry. A jock jam is a song that has an electronic or an up-tempo beat that they normally play at sports facilities in between innings or quarters or when the T-shirt cannon comes out.
I know. I just wasn't prepared. I'm trying to rack my brain because I have it's in my head. It's
I mean, if
Mark
you can-
Wahlberg did a cover of it, but the
Oh.
original song that is the
It's not Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
what is the Marky Mark song that's like
I don't know.
the
anti
We must Google. Somebody Google.
DRG.
Marky Mark? What is his big hot song?
It's
You guys both have
Good Vibrations.
Yes.
Oh,
I got those good vibrations. Dun, 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 dun. Got the sweetest thing. Bum, 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 bum. Got that good vibration. Dun,
you got it.
I love it.
Yeah, that's the song that gets me amped up. I'll put that thing on, but it's the original, not the Marky Mark version.
oh, I thought you meant the Marky Mark.
Definitely not the Marky Mark version. It's the
Okay.
original
It was
Good
kinda
Vibrations that just gets you going hard.
It
Let's see who
does.
did Good Vibrations.
It does.
Got that good
That's
vibrations.
a really good one. That needs to go on a list somewhere.
Oh, it's on a list, I'm sure. I'm sure.
You don't know what Aaron's hair looks like because it's always pulled back. It is. He got the pretty hair. He is like, oh, look at him.
And a
Look at him go.
regal tash
Oh wow,
and
look how
beard combo.
long it is. Look at that hair.
It's very if I were king of the forest. Not duke, not prince, but king.
That's so good. It is good. It is so much fun. You don't usually get to see it down on set very often because it's
I
swampy.
drop it on Fridays. Fridays are for long hair. And,
I didn't know that Fridays were for long hair. This is a good thing to know.
yeah,
Gotta let
on
it
Fridays,
all out for the weekend.
whip it out, do some hair swanging for people, get them all excited. Like
And then
Yeah.
play some good vibrations.
Jock Jam, that's a good one, man. That's a really good one.
Because you know,
Yeah.
it kind of gives us a little insight to where you go. I mean, like, you know, we've had some fun ones, but that's a good one.
I like it.
That also popped into my head because I could remember the name of that song, but it's no, because
Good vibrations.
you know, I'm a car singer,
Oh, me too.
hardcore singer,
Me too. Absolutely.
and when I get that,
and I'm hitting the steering wheel and I'm pumping my fist. I am that person you're sitting next to at the light, and you're like, oh my God.
I almost had a
Thank you, Aaron, for taking your morning and spending time with us and going through all the journeys. It's,
of course, it was so fun. Always good to see you guys. I miss you guys. You're some of my favorite peoples.
We need to sit behind you on something soon.
I would actually, just selfishly, I would like to be in a production meeting, Zoom or otherwise, with you sometime shortly in the future.
Can I tell you one of my favorite production meetings?
Yes,
please.
It's on October 31st.
Okay.
It was a big production meeting. I heard we were supposed to dress up, so I put on this Freddy Krueger mask.
Oh no!
So I have a picture somewhere of a giant Zoom block. Not a single person's in costume except for me.
But
and it's just Freddy Krueger being bored, full makeup. I got the glove. Just Freddy Krueger being bored while nobody else is in costume. Everybody else is like, well, on this page, and just Freddy Krueger's just like bored as shit.
I love that you
wearing
this,
but with the knife hand, like.
With the knife hand, yeah. And I'm not, I don't take off a costume for nothing, man. Like, if you're in, you committed. So I'm sitting here in the full costume, just like.
What show was that on?
That was on Walking Dead. Nobody
else dressed up?
Nobody else dressed, because it's the COVID. It was the COVID episode, so everybody else was just like, at home in their pajamas.
Yeah.
And here I am in a full Freddy Krueger costume.
They
were just like
amazing.
They were all laughing.
That's something we have to think about the next time we actually have a production meeting.
So this is the time on the Noah and DB podcast where you get to plug your podcast or your upcoming projects or any other thing you want to do. Yeah.
So you can follow me. My other podcast is the Launchpad Podcast. You can follow us social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Launchpad Pod, on our website, launchpadpod.com, and on YouTube. We do amazing things. We were just in Los Angeles for the LA Comic-Con. We had 2 panels. We did a panel with Richard Chavez, Mark Verheyen, Sam De La Rosa, and a Predator. Richard Chavez is one of the original actors from the Predator movie. We talked about Predator. It was amazing. And then, Poncho. And then we also did Let's be honest. We had a real Predator. It was awesome. And then we did the Ghostface Killer Trivia, which we've done 3 times now, which we had standing room only. It was incredible. But listen to our podcast. We do comic books, horror movies, bullshit about toys. We have the greatest time. Then you can catch me on Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. Pacific, 1:30 Eastern, where I do the half hour of horror with Aaron McLane and my co-host Chase, where we talk about horror movies per subgenre and give you lots of recommendations. Every week we release a letterbox list of movies that we talk about. And we've gotten so many amazing, awesome nitty-gritty ideas for movies that people should watch. And that's super fun. And then October 26th.
And when is that? Tell me again when that is. Say it one more time.
Saturdays at 10:30 a.m., 1:30 p.m. And that's on X. It's a live stream.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That's the only time I ever use Twitter/X is for this live stream. But you can hear me live. You can come in and maybe even talk if you raise your hand. We bring people up sometimes. But that one's super fun. And that is in conjunction with The Block of Horror, which is an upcoming thing. On October 26th, we are opening The Block. This is a virtual world that we are building in the block space that has a movie theater inside. And you can go inside and you can watch movies inside our movie theater. We are doing the first virtual horror film festival inside the movie theater.
Oh, that's so cool.
There is a video store there full of fun video ideas that you can check out. And we are basically creating, remember Nightmare Before Christmas, Halloween Town?
Yeah.
I want to go to there. Well, we built that in a virtual world, and now you can go to there and go play in a horror world. And that will be on Block of Horror. And we're just trying to find a place where distribution can be done differently. And if we have a movie theater in a virtual space, you can host events there. You can do
I think that sounds amazing.
This is so much fun. You've been listening to the Noah and DB podcast with our host, Jack Lazaro and Karen Alexander. This has been Aaron McLane coming at you.
Thank you, Aaron, for being with us. It's always so good to see you.